Dumont? Here. Bob Cameron?
Here.
Corey Carrier?
Here.
And then I wasn't here for the, meeting minutes last week, but have you guys had time to review? I hear a motion to,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
and the approval of the documents, so, we've looked so far at the payment list from Bob, so that'll come your way here in a minute, Bob. And it looks like the, cash journal and summary and everything is in good order, and the payment listing was good. If anybody has any questions as you're going. The TWC Enterprises, Penny, that was the only thing I couldn't read your writing on.
Oh, we picked up the service contract on the generator at 101 South Main Street at our office. We have a backup generator now. We picked up the service contract.
It's what, for a 5-year service?
It's a
contract?
5-year service contract, so,
And it
and it
saves
won't
$25
go
a
up.
year?
huh?
It saves $25 a year, essentially?
more.
Or more,
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, because you also get discounts if something happens to it, but
yeah.
And the festival stage, does that pay for the whole thing, or is that like a?
That's half.
Okay,
I had to put half down.
okay.
Can I ask a question about the bank reconciliation?
Absolutely.
So, I see that there's credit card payments and, oh, wait a minute, let me think about this. No. So there's credit card stuff that hasn't hit the bank yet,
Correct.
but there's a difference in the primary account by $241.
It does that, and then the next month, it'll clear. Like, if we look at next month, it'll clear. I don't know why it does that.
it's,
I don't know if it's
Does
part
it
of
have
the
to do
credit
with
cards.
where you pull it and it's at end of month?
it's your date.
Like the cutoff, it's probably not
Yeah.
credited.
Like the cutoff is on the
Credited.
15th, but we're not doing this until the 19th or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Exactly, so she balances from 1st to 31st,
And it might be
so these,
a difference in reconciliation
Yeah,
with
so
the
they-
bank because of when they do their tax.
yes, because it hit our system on the 31st to be accounted for, but the bank doesn't have them.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Or vice versa, depending on which side of the fence you're on essentially.
Right.
And there was a lot of them this time too. Cause now we have people paying for their tickets.
Yeah, court
So there
fees.
was a bunch of extra that, like, I think I had almost $1,000 that didn't hit
Yeah. I just wanna make
between the
sure.
two.
It's hard to keep 0 to 0.
Oh,
And one thing I do want to point out on our fund status, typically by the time you get this report in April, our property taxes have hit. They did not hit, you just received them in
I got
this
the
week.
the big batch I got on the 3rd, and then the rest I just got on the 8th.
So, but they haven't been put in there, but just so everyone is aware, for the general fund, that brought in an additional $27,000, which will bring our total account balance for that account to $91,702.91. The police, an additional $12,000, which will bring that up to $34,320.64. And then parks was $11,000, which will bring up our total to $57,997.92. So there was a total of $50,000 in deposits that would have typically hit last month. We would have reflected on this. It just, because those numbers look so low right now, that's kind of why. Because when I first looked at it, I was freaking out, like, okay, like, I know we're spending money, but that scared me.
They had computer software problems, the county did, so.
Do they, and this is a question that's probably, it doesn't have anything to do with us, but when you pay your property taxes, so I pay mine twice a year, do they hold it and then release it to us at certain times during the year?
That's what that is.
It's not like a pay, like I pay on the 5th, so you get it on, it doesn't come directly to
No,
you.
we
It
get a
goes to a bank.
disbursement twice a year.
It goes to a bank into
Yep.
this little pot.
One in March and one in August?
Typically,
That's about when I pay.
Yeah.
I think I paid in February.
because they're due in February and they're due in July.
Yeah.
And we usually get it
Like
within
the
30
next
days
month.
dispersed,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
they've also had a lot of turnover with there at the office and people learning some systems and some systems glitches type thing, so it was a little late.
So Garver Asset Protection for 500.
That's the lease
Card.
payment for the
Oh, okay.
cruiser number 1.
Look, my name's on here, the zoning permit for shed.
My name was on there 3 times and she X'd it out. I don't understand.
Just took it away.
I voided it out. Because it printed out on regular
You don't
paper
get that
instead of the check. I printed you on paper instead of a check, it didn't work.
My rate of taxes and my car payment came out of my checking account the same day, I was like, oh yikes.
Then also to
So
point
the-
out,
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a resolution on this?
Penny, did
Did
you,
I not give her, well, it's in with your packet, I thought. Not the ones I gave you, the ones
What's that?
Sam gave you. I didn't give you mine, I could have.
What's that?
Here, it's probably right here. They're resolutions.
No, it's in your regular council packet.
Yeah.
I see one for a right of way, but that's not for the general. Not for the general.
Here, I'll take one now.
Supplemental appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
Sam has them all nice and in order here.
I did have them in order, they didn't.
Maybe it's.
yeah, it's this one.
Here, here's this one.
Oh, okay.
Here, I'll give you mine.
I'm sure it's in here, I seen the
That
big
way we
long
can-
one, and so I
We
guess I
can,
was looking for.
well, you probably won't sign it till the regular meeting.
Right, I just was gonna
There's-
read it real
you
quick
can
while
get-
they were looking at that.
Yep. You can just have that one, we can sign that one then.
Some of these names.
Thank you.
So any other questions on any of the, cash reports or? Cory?
No, you're good.
Okay. So then is there any old business?
Do you wanna make a motion, Michelle, to
Oh, yeah.
approve those documents?
Who wants to make a motion? To
I'll make the
approve
motion.
And I'll second it. Any old business? So it looks like new business, we'll have a resolution, a supplemental appropriations that we'll do in the council meeting. And it looks like it's for the general fund for personal services, insurance and bonding increase, and water operating fund. It looks like we're, gonna establish a revenue account for the water operating fund.
Thank you.
If no one else has anything else, then anyone wanna make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
No. Good, you?
Good.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Michelle.
And it adjourned at what, 6?
41.
Yes, I can second when I asked for it.
Mhm.
She's adjourning her meeting.
Yeah,
The adjournment, nobody's gonna oppose.
right?
We have 20 minutes, do you wanna cut off the camera?
Yes,
Just leave
give
it
me a
for-
second.
Okay.
How you doing, Bill? I'm good. I'm doing good.
I was told to tell you hi from Tammy Nash, she worked at Lowe's.
Well, yeah,
He helps everyone.
It's 7 PM on April 11th, 2024. If we all will rise for the pledge of allegiance. We're gonna get lost for your table.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait for his chair.
Roll call,
Mayor Henderson,
present.
President Jamal, here, Councilman Wilson, Councilman Bieber,
Here.
have an open council seat. Our last month's meeting, council voted to, have that done this month, to give an extra 30 days for other, potential candidates. We have 2 candidates. One is from Jody Mertz, which everyone has a copy of her letter in your packet, and also from Katie Henry, which again, you have a letter from her in your packet. So at this point, we'll let the council decide on the next steps. You know, either vote to appoint, or they can table it, and then that right there will make the mayor appoint. after the 30 days. So do I have a motion?
I don't know.
Let's say Katie and Jody both are here, so if you wanna ask questions, either one, that's, you guys are more than welcome. So, so that's it. So Jody, if you wanna stand up, introduce yourself, kinda tell us, kind of why you wanna join council.
Well, I'm Jody Murphy. I've owned a house for a couple of years in Fayetteville, but I've been here 35 years. I raised all my kids in Fairfield Union School, and now half of my grandbabies go to Fairfield Union School, and I like to know what's going on. I want to be a part of the community. I want to be a part of the decisions.
Katie?
Hi everyone, Katie Henry. I've lived here since about 2018. I just want to learn more about community and be able to do more for our community. I'm nervous, sorry.
You're fine. We all get nervous standing up here, so.
I also
If you weren't staring at you, would we still be doing it?
I also recently buy a house, so I just want to be more for the community and do more stuff around
You guys have ideas of maybe what you guys could do?
I used to
Okay.
It's okay, you might have an
It was
answer.
more just a question, because, you know, I didn't know.
Hey, you know what, I'm a nurse and I have to present, and I still have to worry, I worry about it, so don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. So, background, like, I don't think everybody else knows, I kinda know what Jody does, but like,
well,
like, what's your?
currently right now I work for Rebel International as a dispatcher. I was a school bus driver for like 3 years, so I love children. And, I worked at Community Service there, I worked there for about 4 years, and I was also a manager at the Red Bonneville.
So I know like, one of the previous people that were the lead of the committee, do you attend the polls very often? I know she went down a lot of times and, interacted, so I didn't know if, okay.
Well, I have a vote, so I'm awake a lot. However, when nobody wants to go on a boat, then, yeah, we go to the camp.
And I don't know if anybody has those questions.
All right. So it's up to council to make a decision. Again, they can appoint one of the 2, or they can table this.
I don't know, I'm not ready to make this decision.
Okay.
I mean,
Do you want to table it then, and like,
If council does table it, that does go, you guys lose your say, in this, just so you know. And then it goes to me to appoint after the 30 days.
could more people still apply?
After it goes to appoint, I don't have to, I can just willingly pick whoever I want in the village. There is no process for it. You stress my
I
judgment.
know, I was too, so. Can we, do a meeting away, so
someone just has to call in to go into executive session.
I'd like to go into executive session.
Okay, not a problem. So what we'll do is we'll ask to clear the room. And if everyone wants to, because it's raining outside, we can put everyone out here.
Do I need to shut the monitor off then?
Yes, the monitor has to be
recorder
shut
off?
off. Yep.
Michelle made a motion, who seconds?
Corey second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We're going, yeah, everybody went over this
Everybody
way.
but council has to go.
Okay. Suck it in, Bonnie.
Yeah. We're glad you were back there to give it.
Wasn't me.
Oh, who gave the tour? Tony?
Sorry. My question is, do they know where the dustpans and the brooms are?
We didn't get that far.
Oh,
As long as you know where the bathroom is, that's all you need to know.
we're back recording, correct, Sam?
Are we recording, Sam? Yeah.
Okay.
What time did we go into the executive session?
It was 7:00, I wrote it down here somewhere.
Because I did not.
It was like 7:05, 7:04, something like that. I have it written down, but
I think it was 7:05.
7:05, okay. So, we're coming out of executive session, so I need a vote to come out of executive session at 7:15. Bill made the motion, second.
second it.
Second by Sarah, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, would council like to nominate someone for the council seat?
I'll nominate Katie Henry.
All right,
I'll second.
Bob second. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? All right, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Bob was the second, correct? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, we can. Cosentino?
No.
Okay. Caught me off guard, sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're allowed to. You just caught me off guard. Councilman Mason?
No.
Councilman Pangborn?
Yes.
Councilman Harrier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morton? Yes.
All right. Katie, congratulations. I gotta get you sworn in. Bear with me 1 second. No, I have it here on my computer, because I didn't know who would, so I didn't have one printed out. So there we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shock.
That's all right, I was like,
I know we all always agree, but I mean, this you got.
but you're totally fine. In all the years I've done this, my fingers have never heard no, and they didn't know what to do.
Sorry.
They really didn't. It just caught me off guard.
I tell people at Sewer Board that all the time, I'm like, when these days I'm gonna say no, you better call it a shop.
Yes, and that's totally fine. It just took me a minute.
All right, Katie, stand up and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Katie Henry,
Do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
or affirm
or
affirm
affirm
that I shall support
that I shall support
the Constitution of the United States
the
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that I shall faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of council for the Village of Pleasantville for the term ending December 31st, 2027. Congratulations, and you take your seat. All right. Yeah, does anyone have their cell phone on the table? Or,
Mine's in my pocket.
okay, yeah, just double check, that may be causing interference. All right, approval of regular council meeting minutes, March 14, 2024. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Oh, I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, second by Cory. Any discussion? Roll call.
President Dumont?
I wasn't here.
Oh, abstain. Michelle, abstain. Councilman Mason?
Yes.
Councilman Pivoy?
Yes.
Councilman Harrier?
Yes.
Councilman Wharton?
Yes.
All right, here's a chance for public input. Is there any input from the public? All right, one thing I do want to advise everyone before she has a separate sign-in sheet than our sign-in sheet, so please make sure you sign that before you leave, because that's part of this program that she'll be discussing. So next, I'll turn it over to Safa. She's from Fairfield County Regional Planning, and she'll be here to kind of talk about some of the different aspects of that agency and how we partner with them. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson, and thank you everyone for giving me the time to steal some of your busy time to talk to you about Fairfield County Regional Planning and fair housing impediment. And fair housing impediment is a project that is done every 5 years. This year we have to submit that because Fairfield County is a recipient of grants that will be distributed to areas that's incorporated around the Fairfield County. That's not the same as the Lancaster, so Lancaster has their own. This is other areas, villages and townships that's not in the city of Lancaster. So, first thing is, Fairfield County has a various land use from suburban development in the northeast, major cities, villages, and low density single family home and agricultural use in many townships. So regional planning play an important role, or essential role in promoting communities by addressing planning issues such as an urban sprawl. Regional planning works hand by hand with officials like yourselves here, communities, township, to advocate for changes and healthy communities growth. Regional planning staff also uses the process of planning to advise elected official and policy makers on action relevant to growth and changes. So when we had the land use growth, we went to with the commissioners and so forth to every villages and townships to make sure that we all on the same page. So because of the CDBG grant, which is called the Community Development Block Grant, and that CDBG, it started in the 1974 when the Housing and Community Development amended the CDBG program. And the primary objective of the act is to enhance the condition of communities such as like parks, pedestrian water system, anything that is an infrastructure. So the CDBG program applies to benefit low to moderate income person to prevent slum and blight. And I just highlighted a few points. There are several points that if you log into like learning more about the CDBG, there's tons of other information. But the CDBG is to meet an urgent community needs that threaten the health and the welfare of the residents. And as part of the Community Development Block Grant in Fairfield County, the county is required to implement a fair housing program. That consists of two main components. First component is the discrimination in renting and housing issues. And the second one we call the landlord-tenant issue. And I just give a funny example that I liked. You see some landlord, and I haven't seen it anytime, or haven't got any calls about that, but you will see an advertisement, for instance, that this is a housing for, and specifically we'll say like nurses, or this is a perfect house for nurses, or this is a perfect house for a lawyer. That's discrimination. So housing should be accessible to anybody and everyone. So on this slide is the fair housing. So fair housing is the federal and state fair housing laws, gives all persons in the protected class the right to live wherever they want, anywhere they can afford, buy a home, or rent an apartment, and help to ensure the fair housing is the way of life in Ohio. For instance, if a person feels like they have been discriminated or in conflict with the landlord, regional planning, which is our office, staff, and it's mainly myself, will take action to assist them by providing the following. So I receive a call sometimes, and the call will be, my landlord shut off the electricity in my unit because I haven't been paying my rent. So these are some of the calls that we receive. So when I receive such a call, I will listen, and then I never, just gonna say like, why didn't you pay your rent? Because that's not something that I do, that's something that we the legal mechanism to resolve, not myself. But I just listen, documented, ask them about a very few information. Some people don't wanna provide a lot of information. So I just ask maybe their name, address, and if they live in the city of Lancaster or do they live in township or in a village and so forth. So I gather that information, and based on what the issue, they told, like what the scenario of their situation, I will refer them to two different agencies, to the legal aid, or the Ohio Civil Rights Commission. Sometime to both, because they have tried the first one and didn't work, so I will give them the second number. And then I will also provide them with material about like fair housing laws. So, for example, this morning we actually had a session with the legal aid, and legal aid, some of the calls they receive or they get is sexual harassment. And so when things like that happen, if it's a female or if it's someone who's afraid to lose their housing, they will accept that, but that's not enough. So by us providing materials and educate them and tell them that this is their right and they can, they're going to be basically abused in their own unit, and they can report that, that will protect them both in the long run. And then a group that are protected under the fair housing, families with children, disabled person, ethnic minority of race, color, ancestry, or nation of origin, gender differences and protection against sexual harassment, religion differences, and military status in Ohio. And that's it. That's basically my slide. I just wanted to give you that because President did the decision of grants, and then you could go into we as regional planning board hand by hand with people to make sure that if there is information that we receive, or there's any updates, or there's anything that we're working on, we would like your input. And you can let us know about things that's happening, and maybe that individual didn't get a chance to call us, or didn't know that we exist, or we can take their calls. So that's part of our job as well.
I think, like our office staff who collects water bills and things like that, they're kind of your first line in a village, because a lot of residents will come to them like, this is my problem, where do I go? So it's good that, you guys know that office can do that, because we do have one unit here, or one landlord that has 9 units. He's responsible for paying his water bill. He gets shut off every other month. He forgets, and then they go 1 or 2 days without water
Yeah.
in a place where they collect rent. So I don't think any of them have complained to us, but again, we wouldn't have any way to fix that, because again, that's outside of our realm, but that would be your office that could
That's
help
correct.
them to that next step.
That's exactly correct. So if we had a resident come to us and say that, I do not have water in the last 3 days or the last 7 days, we would definitely, in that case specifically, we'll give them the legal aid phone number, and then they can, be in communication with the legal aid. But in our part, we will document that and report that, so we make sure that, when we have, like our housing environment and so forth, or anything like this, we will report that. Even if the person went to court, we will show that, yeah, they did call him that day, that time, and that's what happened. So if we were to be called at that point. But yes, it's very important that we advocate, and many people, I don't wanna say the word a lot of people, but many people are unaware of this, or they think like, if I do that, then I might lose my house.
because I think we've had instances of that here with a couple of member tenant relationships. Again, we can't, the village has no laws to get, intervene in that. We always try to give them the resources, but again, they're afraid to lose their house, and then,
Correct.
like, it's easy to talk to us, but they don't really wanna take that big step to talk to
Yeah.
them.
And just another suggestion, just to give it a, it can be extremely, fun. And even if it's for us, if they don't want to hear their name, they don't have to, they can say like, this is the situation, and we can provide them the number of the legal aid, and they can contact the legal aid, but like, it's private, you're not gonna say, oh, Miss, like, Susan told us, and she said this. That's a lot of the issues I think people are facing, and that because of lack of, maybe trust or peers. So I always try to, give them a brochure and say, like, okay, so you don't even have to speak with us, but this is a brochure, so I'm gonna give you some. You can just pass it to them, and then, they can just call that number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
do you guys help, or do you send your legal aid, like, let's say it's, or like, let's say there's mold in their house that's not being taken care of, or health risk?
Health related,
Yeah, would they call you and then you guys would give them legal aid, or?
that's correct. That's correct, and they can, yeah, they definitely will call us, and then legal aid will then determine, like, do they need the health department to get involved?
Gotcha.
Who else, but usually the legal aid will determine then. But if it's not a legal aid, things that are doing, like, within the civil rights, phone number, so I will determine this and that, so like you said, if there's a more than a home or something of that nature, yes, I will give them the legal aid phone number that they can contact the legal aid. I don't ask many questions because I understand that a lot of people, especially, yeah, they call us the first time, like, they're in fear to leave their place.
Any other questions?
You do have brochures.
Yes, I have tons.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll stick them out there and leave them, and then people, we pass them out, people come in and do
100%,
that.
and I think that way it's very, respectful, anonymous, they can take it, and then they can decide, and on this brochure, actually, it has the phone numbers, and it has all of the information, so what can be some of the things, right, like, what can be some of the issue, and even if it's not an issue, and they call legal aid, and legal aid say, like, I don't think that's an issue, at least that gives them some comfort, it's like, okay, it's okay,
Right.
but at least they have been heard.
All right. I appreciate all the work you do at Regional Planning
Thank you.
and the staff. You
Thank you.
guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Not just with this, but with all of our other partnerships. Not everyone is aware of everything you guys do in that office, but this is just one
Appreciate
small
it.
piece. But we appreciate the partnership and the continued relationship that will be growing, especially with the new model zoning code and
Yes.
other CDBG grants that will be coming up, so.
Yep, absolutely,
Yep.
and if there's any other questions, not even maybe related to this fair housing specifically, and if you have, please give us a call, we'd love to answer anything that's related to, anything to do with our office, with regional plan subdivisions, anything of that nature, we'll definitely respond.
Okay, all right, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you
You're more
very
than welcome to
much.
stay for our boring meeting, you're welcome to go, however you want to handle that, I'm sure you've had a long day, so.
I appreciate it, yes, I will, have to drive again an hour back.
Yeah, so, have a good night and have a safe trip.
Thank you
Yep.
very much, but I wanna pass this, because this is our brochure, and that way you can definitely let people know. Appreciate it, Mayor, thank you. There you go.
And they could make copies of this to hand out.
I have tons,
Oh.
like, if you want, I can
I was just
definitely.
thinking of the
We can
office.
make
but-
Yeah,
copies.
we can make
We'll make
copies if we need
Oh,
to.
thank you.
Isn't there like a renter's bill of
You're
rights?
welcome.
Yeah, actually, I think we have that in our lobby, so, or we used to.
And if you want us to make copies, I can drop it off.
I just wanted to make sure it was okay for them to make copies.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, no, that's
Because
definitely.
this is definitely useful.
Yeah, so people can know, and I feel like they are,
I
they
think
can
some,
be around.
I think there's some people that misinterpret availability of housing, what did I write on my paper? Access access to housing and safe housing is two different things.
Mhm.
They may have access but not safe, like,
Right.
and that's not right.
Yeah, we seen it too, and again, like, it's the lack of just knowledge of what it really means. Even when we say fair housing, or we say in that news, they think like, okay, maybe that's a housing for people who's in Section 8 vouchers or something like that. It's not, it's fair housing to anybody and everyone. It is their own home, and in some sort of way,
Right.
we give them that.
Right,
Yeah.
read this a little better. Just kidding.
They can't help you if there's something wrong in your house that you bought.
You guys have a wonderful
Thank
evening.
You too.
Thank you so
so
much.
much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was reading it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to council reports, finance.
Oh, we do have, do you wanna do that at the end? We have an ordinance.
Yeah, we'll do that under new business.
That's really, into this, everything looks good to go.
Okay. Zoning, property maintenance, right now, I'm just kinda heading that up. Michelle is ahead of that. But we do have Heather, who's, she's actively gonna start working some stuff. We've met a few times. I did ask her to kinda hold off sending out any notices or anything until I got Mayor's Court stood up and kind of my feet wet, so I think my feet are as wet as they're gonna get. We'll be working together and coming out with some plans and
That's
all
when I
that.
started working on some of the cases that came in for the fences.
Yep.
118 First Street, started taking care of.
And then, Michelle and I was talking, when you go to do, you're gonna keep a log of everything that you're doing.
Yes.
I think is what we talked about.
Yes.
So when you give me the update, just copy Michelle on it, so that way she's
Perfect.
aware of it as
Okay.
well, type thing. And then, once we all kinda get through this together, it'll shift from my desk to her desk,
Okay.
so. All right, records, rules, and law,
So, we need to get together. Would it be possible, I'll text you later, to come up with a time, we need to actually, like,
Yes, it,
I've
yeah, absolutely.
I've been looking through some of the stuff that Sam sent me. You sent it to me, didn't you?
You did?
Cause I got it,
Okay,
but,
it came from me.
so I've been looking through it, but I'd like to nail down
Yeah, we can get together.
priority.
Sounds good.
all right.
Maybe after this we'll schedule.
Yes.
All right, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, Sarah, recreations community.
Corey and I met last week, just so that I could kind of get my feet wet, but nothing really.
Do you have any questions yet?
More or less just what we need to do,
Okay,
so.
okay. Like the legal description of what you do is, just to make sure I say it right, is, it's composed of 3 council members. The purpose of the committee is to oversee the village-owned parks, pool and community center, advise village council on maintenance and improvements of the property, submit an annual plan of maintenance and improvements. I do that for you. To include 1 year and a 5-year plan. I do that too. Not saying you can't,
Right.
I've always been doing it, so I just, recreation activity plan and recruit and organize citizen volunteers. I mean, that's basically it. So
Okay,
it's planning out the park activities. Jody mentioned, like, we used to have it because we used to have funds for it, that was donated to us for the summer park program. I think it was about $5,000 a year, and it helped pay for like a teacher's aid or something, for, what was it, an 8-week program or something like that during the summer.
during summer, yeah.
And they had different activities, lunch, just all kinds of stuff, depending on budgets and money-wise, you know. We used to rent a pool for them for a day to give them a free pool day, or they got a free pool day, but then you also had, COSI, they would pay COSI to come down, like, there was all kinds of stuff that they would do here and there. We don't get that funding anymore, that used to be through the United Way, but they kind of got rid of those type of programs. And unfortunately, we just don't have the funds to set aside for that, nor is it hard to find volunteers to do that. You know, it's one of those things, we lost the funding, plus it was hard to find anyone to even do that.
Right.
But that is something that would be nice to have back, or something similar to that, some type of activity in the park. I know Chris Miller, who's our park, or our pool manager, she had talked about something, doing something since the pool's gonna be closed, just to have something for the kids to do. So she might be a wealth of knowledge to like come up with some ideas and do some things, cause she always done like the free days at the pool, the hot dogs with the heroes at the pool, like all those different activities that kinda took place of the summer park program.
Okay.
But since we're not having the pool, maybe something to fill in that gap.
Okay.
And if you guys wanna come up with some things, create a budget for just this one year, you know, bring it back and see what we can do, just to get us through a summer without a pool.
Okay, yeah.
I would say we need to start, Katie, you're on it with us.
Yep.
We need to start looking at places like, ask for funding, we can ask for funding, can't we?
Oh, yeah, you're allowed to ask.
So,
for donation.
hospitals. So we'll start with putting together a list of people we can ask for money.
Okay.
Ohio Health, they give thousands of dollars, and if it's for kids, they're all about it. Or Children's Hospital.
Mhm.
Yeah, you might
Start
even
asking.
get volunteers in the community, like,
Right.
like Chris actually does the yoga that's down at the community
Yeah.
center.
I'm
Might be able
happy
to
to
find
give you
somebody
Chris's
else
number
that-
too.
Yeah, well,
And
Chris is
she
also
and I-
very active in the community page,
Mhm.
so I can reach out to her.
And she and I spoke, well, she and I spoke when she came into the office about she wanted to do a teen night at the community center.
Great, okay.
And that's why we directed her, but I'm happy to give you her number when we're done with the meeting,
Absolutely,
just
yeah.
remind me.
Okay.
She'd love that.
Awesome.
And just so you know, cause back when the park board used to be the park board, I was on it, it takes lots of volunteers. I mean, back, you had the council, 3 people, but the park board, the volunteers, we had 12 people
Okay.
at one point. That was back when people actually liked to volunteer for stuff.
Yeah.
And all 12 of us were busy, but we didn't have a full-time staff that done cleaning and maintenance, so we were doing our own cleaning, our own maintenance. We were mowing the parks, like, we were doing a lot of stuff that now we pay to have all that stuff done.
Okay.
So that's why we don't need such a large, when I say don't need, you're more than welcome to have whatever size you want, but, hiring employees kind of, you know, didn't make that a necessity anymore.
Yeah, because Corey and I kind of brainstormed like a couple of different ideas last week, but, you know, it was mostly just to, like I said, kind of get my feet wet on it.
All right. Safety service, that's Bob.
Yeah, I don't have anything this month.
All right. County board reports, Michelle for regional planning and Board of Health ad hoc.
Nothing to report on the zoning yet, just kinda waiting on maybe to roll out. It sounds like the last email I got, they're getting closer, you know, for the village, so that should be coming up and we can report on that. I did miss the health board, though this time, it was
Okay.
March 28th, and I wasn't able to make it.
Okay. Yeah, the model zoning code, I know I did get an email, they're trying to find like best nights for people,
Yeah.
within a certain time period. I'm not sure if you got it or not.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I replied to see if you wanted me to go or
Yep.
to be back up or whatever.
Yeah, if you wanna
guys go.
reply to just the dates, that way they kinda get a
Okay.
consensus, which
Yeah, I can do
they
that.
just sent that email out today,
Okay,
to get a consensus of
Okay.
dates.
Yep.
That way they can kinda,
well, I thought you were gonna go.
I am, but this is for like anyone, that way they can kinda pick the best date.
Oh,
No matter
okay.
if I go or you go,
Okay,
it's kinda that best date.
okay, I will
Thank-
reply.
It was, we sent it in
I seen it.
a,
I
okay,
just didn't reply because I was kinda letting you take the
Yep.
lead, so I'll go ahead and reply.
okay, it was in Doodle.
Yeah.
Okay. It's first I ever heard of that program, but that way they kinda get the idea of what days, times are best, so.
Okay,
But yeah, we'll have a lot to update.
right, once
we
that
do.
rolls, yeah.
All right, grant updates, so I have them just to save paper to kind of take off everything that we have on there for grant updates. Cause it doesn't change a lot, but I do keep my board up to date. So I did kind of rearrange this to completed projects, what we've applied for, what's been funded, and our future projects. Kind of break it out even a little bit more. So of course, completed projects, most everyone's aware of those. The ones that are in queue right now is OPWC 2023 funding for Walnut Street improvements. We did apply for that, we're just waiting to hear back, which won't be until July or August. We hear back if we're funded on that. That's a total of $486,000. We do have a local share and a loan to take out if we do get awarded that money. Software talked about CDBG funding, we're eligible for that again, for 2024, so we did submit a plan for that for $98,800, and that's for new playground equipment out in Park. Now, keep in mind, like most people see, like, $98,000 for playground equipment, that's a lot, it is. Playground equipment is expensive, but there's also engineering that has to be done with this, because part of these grants is you have to have everything certified by an engineer. So those professional fees are in there. which is the max for their mini grant. They'll meet May 11th. Most likely, 99% will be approved for that. That will be from Fairfield County Land Bank, and that'll be the end of their funding for this cycle. We'll get the last $15,000, other than a few $1,000s left over. And they hope to bring that back in 2025, so, because I think it's a great asset for the county. So those are the three that we've applied for. The ones that we've funded, the NRG funding, which is kind of part of that CDBG, that's that big $850,000 that we went through all that legwork for a couple years ago. We have some issues going on with that. It's not issues with a grant, it's issues with contractors. So the NRG funding was paying for paving on Hickenlooper, storm lines on East Columbus Street, Audi Park restrooms, and the Pleasantville baseball diamond refurbishment. Hickenlooper paving has not went out yet for bid packet. That should not be a problem. East Columbus Street storm lines, we had one person apply for it, and they did accept the application because it did fall under the budget. So it was abnormal, we only had one person apply for it, normally we have at least 3 or 4. But the way it looks is people aren't hungry. There's a lot of state money out there, a lot of projects, so people really aren't looking at these smaller village projects. That kind of leads me to the next statement. Audi Park restrooms, Pleasantville Park, baseball diamond went out for bid. We had 0 bidders. Nobody wants to do that work. So now we have to go back to the state, ask for an extension, because this is all time sensitive, and then we have to put that out for bid again. The feedback we got is, it's not that the bid is too low, it's just, it's a small job, no one wants it. So, anyone that you know that does that kind of work, there will be up for bid here soon. CDBG funding for what we did get, and again, that's all part of that NRG. That was where the Fairfield County Commissioners gave us $100,000 of the CDBG funds. That was to pay for pool bathrooms and the pool concrete. We had no bidders on the bathrooms. Again, just a small job, no one wants it. Pool concrete, we only had 1 bid. It was approved. It's Jason Cooper who got the bid. He does wonderful work. He's our preferred vendor anyway in town, so we're good with that. Keep in mind, when we pull that out, we also need to fix the pool system. That's around another $20,000 that we're gonna pay for ourselves. If we don't do it now and kick that can down the road, we gotta tear up that concrete again, basically pay for that concrete replacement just to do those repairs. So we're gonna do it in tandem. That way the concrete's already paid for and we don't have that expense. OPWC 7th Street storm lines, that right there was funded. It will be going out for bid, I think next month, end of this month. So more to come on that. Water meter replacement, that's self-funding, we're just doing that as needed. The ARPA county level funding for the water tower refurbishment. Again, we've talked about this a few times. Pleasantville Road water tank is done except for the punch out list. Walnut Street tower, we started to do that work, found out all kinds of problems that we didn't know. The inspection didn't pick up, which kind of irks me. We paid all that money for an inspection that really didn't tell us nothing. But we had to go out and ask for $200,000 more. We could not get that funded, so now we're asking for an ODWA loan, which is a low interest government loan. They'll vote on that at the end of April. Hopefully we get that so we can refurbish this tank, which includes additional welding, major repairs, repairing the dog collar, which is the bottom part of that tank that is failing, the inside painting, the outside painting, to where when this is done, it should last another 100 years as long as it's properly maintained. So it's money well invested, because if we let it go, then the tank, I don't want to say can't be used, but its useful life is next to nothing. And a new tower is what, $1.5 million, $2 million?
Way too much.
So it's cheaper to go this route than to kind of, hey, let's just see what happens. And then the zoning update that Michelle talked about, there is a cost of that of $5,000, but the Fairfield County Commissioners have given all the villages and townships the money to pay for that. So that's kind of where we're at. And then our future projects, this is never ending list. Just as we brainstorm, we put stuff up there, so if you guys think of anything at any point you want to bring up to add to the future projects, just let us know. We put it up there, just to put it up there as a target. So, all right. Any questions on grants?
You know what needs to be done on your bathrooms that you got no bidders for? Like plumbing or what is it?
It's tear out remodel. So it's completely tear out everything, walls, concrete floor, redo the plumbing, leveling are booked until after that. So he couldn't meet the requirement, but with the extension, he possibly can. So again, there's a possibility depending on what the state does. All right, and just so everyone's aware, like up there, I have all the costs, the things I underline in red, that's our local costs, just so everyone kind of knows like what comes out of our pocket. Kind of helps us, you know, as we talk about, hey, let's do this, everyone kind of knows the money that we've already,
And so on the ball diamond, is our time closed on the bids? Is it already, like, could somebody do it or no?
so we're going to the state now to ask, so yeah, per the
We're
state
past it.
standards, we're past that, cause it went out for bid, and we got no bidder, so now we have to ask for an extension. And then that will start the process all over again.
Jason, just so you're aware, when I deleted the grant stuff, when you were in the office earlier, I deleted chief off of the agenda as well.
I
I'm
mean,
just
do you
saying,
really wanna
not
talk?
that he's gonna be sad about it, but I'm just saying, he's not on there.
Alright. Alright, if there's no questions on grants, any questions for anyone out there? I mean, I think grants are very important, and making sure everyone knows that what we're doing and how we're spending money is, you know, really important. And also, like, what are we missing that we need to fix or do, so. Cause again, we can probably list 1,000 things up there, but. Alright, Chief Garber, we'll turn it over to you since she left you off the agenda. That way I don't forget.
Well, it was already been mentioned that, code enforcement is gonna start now in the springtime, and everybody's doing their spring cleaning and starting to do projects, and probably may not have permits, or, maybe need to apply for permits. I just put a breakdown on here for you. Now, the mayor's court is starting, so you just kinda have an idea of, like, how many cases we're dealing with. Obviously, this is all in its infancy, but it's about, a case a day on average, since the mayor's court started. And you can see that this, out of the traffic violations, the stop signs and the speeding, those are gimmies anywhere. But you can kinda see the speeds that we're dealing with, 60 miles an hour on Main Street and in the 50s and stuff like that. We're not writing petty tickets, so if they get a stop sign ticket, it's because they pretty much blew it. We do issue probably, I would say, however many tickets we issue, we probably issued about, 30% tickets and 60-70% warnings, at least so far. That's been like the ratio. So, like the rolling stops, stuff like that's more like a warning. The ones that are blowing, we even had a school bus completely blow right through the intersection to not even attempt to stop. So I threw on the municipal court cases. Going forward, most of this traffic stuff is going to end up going to mayor's court, but these cases were prior to the mayor's court being up and running. So, and then I think everybody's seen the Facebook post probably, but Denali, the canine, did pass her state test for tracking and articles, which is basically like the search and rescue side of things. We're working on the narcotics side of things. She definitely has all the odors, so she knows the smell of methamphetamine, and she knows heroin and cocaine and all that stuff, and she will alert to it repeatedly, so that we know that she knows it. But when you go for state testing, it is a bunch of dogs and a bunch of their handlers, and then at least 2 evaluators plus the handler, and usually there's an additional person just observing. So you have like this, entourage going through buildings and junkyards and stuff like that as we do, and it's just too much of a distraction for her at this point. So we're gonna work on distractions and stuff like that, and then retest her on the narcotics. We ran her through the narcotics knowing that she probably would not pass. I just wanted to see, like, how bad is it gonna be, or what we gotta work on, or whatever, and it was a good thing that we did that. And everybody's very helpful and all that. And it's not like a, you take it once and you're out kind of thing. You can take the test as many times as you like, and it is free. But it's usually a packed house when they do it, because no one gets paid to do the test. So it's all a volunteer thing. It's all basically canine handlers and stuff like that, and then a few we'll get there. I was not expecting her to pass it anyway. She did pass what I expected her to pass. She did not pass what I expected she wouldn't, so everything's fine. But she is legal to be in the car and all that stuff, and that's gonna be good for the socialization and the distractions and stuff like that. So you will see her out, riding around. So we did take her to the Easter egg hunt, and lots of people came up and saw her and stuff like that. So she's generally a friendly dog and, likes attention, but some people she doesn't like. I think that's all dogs. So let's see. Yeah, so most of the government stuff that we had to go through to get the police department set up is done. And it's been like a constant thing with all the alphabet soup agencies out there that want, numbers or licenses or paperwork or whatever. And I think we're pretty much at the end of the road on that. The only major project that's like a looming thing, it's not a huge deal, we have plenty of time, is the radios that we have. I was able to convince our township trustees to basically give us older ones. The problem with that is they will sunset, as they say, this time next year. And they'll be kicked off the system because of a security upgrade that's mandatory. So during that time, we will look for other solutions. The radios are stupidly expensive. I mean, like for this portable radio that's laying down here, probably the minimum you're looking at just for one radio is $1,500. The ones that you have in the cars are probably closer to $3,500, and that's with Kenwood, which is a good brand. It's like a middle of the road brand. Like if you get a Motorola, you can almost double the price tag on each of those. I have some friends or connections, whatever you want to say, just because we deal with them at the fire department. At Bazoo Communications, which is a Kenwood dealer, but they also do, they'll take older radios on trade, kind of like cars, And some of the richer departments in the Franklin County area are turning over radios because they got mad money and they don't know what to do with it, so they just buy new cruisers, new everything, just because. Well, they are going to acquire their radios that they're replacing, which are still good, beyond the next year's security upgrade. So I have us penciled in for those, and I think we can get 4 of these portables for $500 a piece. And I think that's going to come with a charger and a new battery too, which is great, because those are expensive as well. So that will hopefully take care of the portable radio situation, for years to come. And then we'll have to work on the mobiles for the in-car. The mobile radios on the in-car are important because they have an antenna that's mounted outside of the car. And a radio that a police officer is wearing, 30% of its strength to receive or transmit is absorbed by the officer's body. Put them in a car, the car absorbs even more of that. So you're basically running at 1/3 power when they're using a portable radio. And the problem with that is you'll miss communication, you won't even know it. So, they may call your unit 3 or 4 times, you may not hear it, 2 or 3 of those times. And the 4th one, they're mad at you on the radio, like, why are you not answering? No, never heard. Go ahead, what do you want? Oh, you have a domestic or whatever. Or they'll call you on the phone when it's really late in the game, like, are you alive? You're on the radio. So that's what we're kind of running into. Generally, the radio service is okay, but if you're in a car, running around, seated and surrounded by the car, just positionally in town, some places it's bad. And you won't know that you're not receiving the traffic. So we will have to try to get a solution to the mobile radios, but we have about a year to do it. So, and we'll look for grants, used options, whatever. Because these radios are built and they will last a long time. There's nothing gonna be wrong with these radios this time next year or 5 years from now. It's just, there's a security protocol in the software they're not capable of. So, anyway, that's a bunch of boring radio talk, but, so the BWC grant, several of the officers have been out to get size for the bulletproof vests. A couple of them have not yet, so we'll work on them to get out there. We are still patiently waiting for our shoulder patches, which were ordered a long time ago. They're supposed to be here before this meeting, and they're not. So, I think that's basically it. Yeah. So, do you have any questions for
I don't, I just wanna say thank you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, thank you, and thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Cause you guys have done above and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see you out all the time. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you do what you like, it's not working, right? So,
Yeah, yes, but we appreciate it, cause it's a lot of work.
But, and just as a reminder, all of our officers are donating their salaries this year.
Right,
So to help us pay for all this, the setup, so,
No, it's
You know,
impressive.
so for the amount of service that we're getting and not paying labor, it's,
Right.
you know, it means a lot. One thing I did wanna bring up, because, you know, I am going to authorize this, but also just so council is aware, and if you guys don't agree with it, you have your chance to speak, but, one thing that I think our officers and the village needs to do is make sure we have mutual aid agreements with other villages. So we will definitely be working with that, and I will be signing letters and issuing letters to, ensure that the other villages have Pleasantville's mutual aid, and hope they reciprocate with that as well.
I guess I do have one more thing, which is a council thing. It's just because it's becoming a police issue, and it's kind of a legislative thing. You guys need to decide what you want to do with it, but Walnut Street, on East Walnut Street, between Main and the park, I think it would,
One way.
I think it would help if it was two-way. And then in the narrow part where it goes around the bend from the park entrance to Lincoln, keep that one way. But the problem that we're having is almost everyone that patronizes mug shots that parks in the gravel lot will leave the wrong way. And it is aggravating people in town. They're posting on Facebook and tagging the police department and all that stuff. So we're making traffic stops and warning them, but they're like, we've done this forever. And, you know, half of them's like, I had no idea because I just pulled in and just pulled right back out and didn't see any signs. And there is no stop sign facing East Walnut Street as you leave. And it does create a little bit of a traffic problem when they're going the wrong way. And of course, the people that know better are honking the horns and getting aggravated with the people that are going the wrong way. And they'll do it right in front of the police too. So, that's just, I think half of them don't know and half of them don't care.
So you're saying the strip, when they're leaving, we should make it two ways?
I think it would alleviate the problem only because I don't think that the area between, and this is I don't care what you do, just know that if we enforce the one way, you're gonna have complaints from the police department. So,
Is there enough, I mean, I know the street, but I don't travel it a lot.
Yeah.
Is there enough
wide
room on
enough
both?
right there.
Is it
Yeah, I
wide
don't think
enough?
it's wide enough.
Right where the parking lot is, it should be,
It is wide enough,
where the parking lot is.
in the area that Nick is talking about. I'll pull the map up here real quick.
But then it gets narrow when it goes around that corner, and
Yes.
that's where it's not wide enough.
And that's where we will,
And it stays narrow all the way.
And if it's
to Main
narrow,
Street
should we
to
switch it
Lincoln.
going the other way? Could we do that? If
that's
they're
completely
leaving
up to
the
you.
other, you follow what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
we think it's too narrow, could we make it one way the other way,
it could.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, it makes no difference to me which way the one way goes. I can see the point to having it one way in the narrow area. It is narrow,
Okay,
between the park and Lincoln Avenue. It's not a very long stretch of pavement, obviously.
no, yeah,
But it is a little bit on a curve. I don't think you can see clear through it, and if you have two cars, it would be kind of like an alley at that point, as far as like, you know, the width goes. So, I mean, I guess alleys are not really one way, so an argument could be made, make it two-way the whole way, but I don't care what you do, I'm just asking for clarification.
well, I'm just thinking if it's it's people leaving from Pacers, if it's narrow and we switch it the other way, you know what I mean, that might alleviate, if we make it one way the other way.
Cause I like it even more.
Then we keep it narrow where we don't have two people squeezing through, but the people leaving the Pacers, but then they'd have to circle around to go to the
I was
Pacers.
gonna say, then how would they pull in without going
Yeah.
the wrong way?
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to look at it.
Well, it has to be, so how often do you have two people going?
You know, it's pretty frequent in the evenings.
Yeah.
When Mug Shots is open, it's pretty frequent.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty busy.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's, some people are very vocal about it on, you know, social media and stuff like that.
Cause that
which-
always helps.
Yeah.
I know, I see a lot of
So the parking
complaints on
lot,
the
I'll have to go
community
down and look. The parking lot doesn't empty out on Main, does it? It has a curb.
It everybody enters and exits off of East Walnut Street.
Okay.
There is a curve.
But the portion of East Walnut Street in question, which does kind of even go in front of my office over there, it's no wider or narrower, I don't think, than most of the village streets in that section.
Mhm.
But once you get past the water tank or the park entrance, yeah, it's back down to like alley width almost.
Yeah,
Yeah, so proposal would be to open it up two-way from, at this intersection here, which is, there's mug shots.
okay.
And then here's the water tower and the entrance to our park, and make that just two-way. And
Oh, so we're not making the whole stretch
No.
two-way, we're gonna then leave the other half,
then this leave one-way, because that really is narrow, and
okay.
because of sidewalks.
I was thinking we were proposing to do the whole thing, that makes sense.
Yeah, keep this one-way and stuff, right now it's
Because
one-way.
we could put a one-way sign
Yeah, begin
right
one-way
there on
sign
the.
right on the corner.
Yeah, right now, one-way exits out onto Lincoln,
Mhm.
which, to me, like, if you leave it that way, if you leave the parking lot, if you turn right,
It's gonna,
it makes sense, turn left, I mean, it still lets you
That does make sense,
leave leave the village park either way,
right,
and adds less confusion with any change.
that does make sense.
Um,
I'm glad you brought up the map. Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
no,
that's
I-
helpful,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's basically whatever you wanna do, we don't care, we just want you to be aware that,
Right.
you know, if we're going to
Do
do.
we just need an ordinance for that?
Well, and we have one, and I did not get that done, because Nick had already drafted one up.
Okay.
Uh,
Cause that, me and, Corey can work on that.
Okay, I'll forward that to you.
Okay. Yep, I'll get us started.
Just want to throw something else out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you say you already have it done though?
Yeah, Nick has one, I can forward it to them to review.
Another thing to bear in mind, when they go the wrong way they go west on Walnut instead of east like they're supposed to, when they leave mug shots, some of them have partaken in adult beverages. And they're not, I'm not saying they're inebriated, I'm just saying they've partaken in adult beverages and there's no stop sign there. And so we've actually, Officer Kelly and I have actually witnessed people come flying through that intersection while we're coming, assuming we're stopping and everybody else is, and they're not stopping, they're just going straight.
Wonder if
So
we need a
that's also
four-way
a
sign,
you
Well-
mean
like we did up
across
at
Main Street though?
188.
Is that what you mean?
But we can't put that in,
I
ODOT
know,
has to, yeah.
but we'll have to
Yeah,
start.
I think a four-way stop would be better there because people fly through
Yeah.
the intersection.
We
Oh,
have
all
to
the
do a little
time.
bit of a fight to get the one down at the other corner, but maybe we have to start.
I can start the
Start
conversation.
Yeah.
The answer from ODOT's gonna be no,
Right.
but we'll
Yeah.
start that process.
Would you
Right.
have to put a stop sign on Walnut Street now though?
Yeah, we would have to.
Yeah, we could
if
do
that's
that.
trained. Yeah,
Yeah, we could do that, but we might wanna start
make
with
that
the
a
state
four-way.
to see if we can make it a
Four-way.
four-way.
it'd be like in front of the park, it actually slows down the traffic where there's a lot of activity for
Right.
people on foot.
There is a blind spot right there when you go out the wrong way, looking south on Main Street, with all the cars parked right
Mhm.
there. You won't be able to see the cars coming up because it comes up a hill.
Yeah.
So there is a blind spot, it's not like maintenance truck never went through that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting situation, especially for the police, so it's like, you know, we could ticket them, that's no problem to ticket them, it's just, you're gonna aggravate that business and
Right.
their
And
client
we
base.
don't wanna do that, but we do wanna make it safe.
Right,
Well, there's there's no real like clear markings to begin with, so how can you hold people accountable when there's no stop signs, there's no one-ways, there's no
There
markings
is
on the
one-way.
ground?
I'll say, it's clearly, we had the one-way mark.
There's,
There's
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
there's a one-way sign.
I don't go over too much that
Yeah.
way, so.
But it doesn't have a stop sign because they're not supposed to be going that way, so that's why,
Right,
yeah.
but like I've never seen it, and
Yeah, there's a there's a
So-
one-way sign here,
yeah, I think there's actually 3.
yeah. Then we have one here and then one up here to kind of help
Huh.
guide people.
well, I don't go down that road
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Like,
neither.
it is marked, but
That
again,
used to be mine and Pumpkin's main
yeah,
walk
We'll go
area.
down and walk it, or, go down and look.
So without making it a four-way stop there, just putting a stop sign at the end of that, making it two-way is not a good idea. If they can't see to the left
Yeah.
when they're coming out.
well, I don't wanna say it's not something that, and again, you're going to make assumptions here that people are following traffic laws, they're going 25, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You have enough time for a reaction, but as Nick has pointed out, we also have people that go.
60.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but at that point, like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And then the only other, like, legislative proposal really come from the police department now, we're, springtime, what do you wanna do about the curfew did do up a little proposal. I don't expect you to act on it tonight. I was having a printer malfunction, so otherwise I would've been here 30 minutes early, but, that's a real simple, proposal. It's basically 9 PM if you're, less than 13, 11 if you're between 13 and 17. And then the police can either just give them back to the parents, ticket the parents if you want to ticket the parents, or guardian, whatever, or charge them as a delinquent juvenile, or unruly, I guess it would be.
Don't we have a resolution for
Yes,
this
but-
already? But it doesn't have the ages on it
Well,
though.
it has ages and all, but it's, so juvenile law has changed a lot since that was passed. That was passed in 1980. And juvenile law is very different now. Because I think even for you guys, the unruly juvenile still isn't a simple arrest. It's almost, you have to get the judge's permission, juvenile court judge's permission to even act on that.
Oh,
So it's not,
Yeah, pretty much if they're under 12, you're not doing much of anything with the juvenile. It's gonna be it's gonna be a prepare a report, send it to the prosecutor, they'll review it, they'll decide what they're gonna do, and it's gonna be weeks, months afterwards whether something is done.
if there's something done.
But this one is just a simple, hey, the police have the power to, hold the kid if they're out past, and then summon the parents to them, or convey them home, or take them to the police station, if we need to do that. Obviously, we're gonna handle it with a warning on the first, hey, get home, and then when you come back around an hour later and they're still out, okay. But it just gives us something, it's a tool, basically.
Can we have this for our,
You can do whatever you want with it.
no, I'm being sarcastic here. Can we have this for our people that are not juveniles but should not be out on the street after midnight?
You can give it a try. Yeah. And, it's really not, something that we're not trying to be heavy-handed on the kids, it's just what are you gonna do about it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you need a guideline,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
when you get the kids that, don't wanna comply or whatever, it's like, well, okay, you can actually just come with me then.
Yep. Well, we also do have, I don't wanna say it's just always people that are in transit here, but kids are taught not to listen to authority.
Oh, that is 100%. I mean, not
Yeah.
100% of the kids, but
Yeah.
it definitely happens, You can definitely tell, even on traffic stops, you
Yep.
can tell, so.
Well,
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
It doesn't, yeah.
All right.
yeah, I think this is a good idea.
Well, and then I think, we also need to go through all of our ordinances we have, any ones that relate to like a police action, probably pull those forward, relook at those. Because again, because we've not had a police department, we've not had to really do an ordinance. Keeping in mind, we do adopt a Ohio Basic Code, which has a lot of our policing ordinances in it, but like these ones that are very specific to the village, like we'll need to revisit and update, so.
Typically, this is a common thing that happens in the
Yep.
villages where you got old invoices, or not invoices, ordinances and resolutions, and you don't even know what year, or what number, whatever. So there's language in that one to basically just rescind it. And so it's still on the books, but it's canceled
Yeah,
because you passed the new one. That way you don't have to go digging for it, and,
right,
You don't have a conflict.
yeah, so.
yeah,
But I'm not pushing it, I'm just letting you know, it's getting nice out, the kids are gonna be out.
right.
And so if you want us to do something about it, we gotta have a law, so.
So I know you're police, obviously, but you're kind of fire too, so I'm gonna ask you this question. We were discussing, creating, an updated thing around. Is there one that we could, you suggest that we look at? For people who have fires, like making it a certain size and a certain
Oh.
time and a
Well-
certain, I mean, we have the one, like the basic one, but we had kind of talked
Yeah.
about making it better.
We have to make some changes to it, because I think right now, like, our ordinance says you can actually have a fire as close as 1 foot to your house.
Right.
Yeah, that's kinda crazy.
Yeah.
But, like, obviously that needs to come out, but then also make sure that we're not changing the things that are state
Sure.
mandated in there, so.
We had a fire on Second Street the other day that was pretty impressive.
But when we called it a fire department in, I think it also, they need, like, if we had something,
Yeah,
so I didn't know if you have an opinion on anything
Oh.
that, like,
I'm very flexible, but typically what it is, it's a 3x3x3.
Mhm.
You gotta have a water source or some way to extinguish it immediately. It has to be monitored. You can't
Okay.
just like, all right, I'm going to bed and enforcement action, they just wanna put the fire out and go home, cause they're the good guys, and I can say that, I'm one, so. And then it's usually the police that they're gonna defer to write a ticket or to,
Right.
you know, tell them they can't be doing
Right.
that. So the solution to that has always been, if it's clean, dry, natural wood, and you're just burning some brush, keep it small,
Right.
have a bag of marshmallows sitting there, and just, if you don't cook a marshmallow, it's okay, but it's for pulling food here, see?
Right.
And it's fine, you know, and then that way it
But
passes.
I think we've had problems in the past, that's not what was going on, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, for sure, and cause then you're gonna get
Yeah.
people where they're like, oh, well, you know, I have this vinyl siding that's been laying around, they wanna throw that on.
Mhm.
And then that does, cause it's a petroleum product, the heavy black smoke and all that stuff, and that's a no-no anywhere.
Right.
So like burning your rubbish is a no-no anywhere. And I'm sure that's probably covered in the basic code, I actually haven't looked, but I would say that's probably already in there.
Okay. Well, we'll pull the basic code and the state law and then our old one and then kind of,
Yeah,
Cause you're definitely gonna wanna have a modification to the state law, because if you leave it to the state law, they're gonna say you can't have open burning anywhere within 1,000 feet of a structure, and you can't even do that in this town.
Mhm.
right.
So you have to override that with a local ordinance and then say, okay, here's what we're gonna allow. And typically it's the 3 by 3 by 3, you know, 3 foot high, 3 foot wide, you know, and 3 foot around. But you can make it a little higher if you want, if you wanna give them 5 feet or whatever, that's fine. But that, now you're getting into like bonfire territory,
Right.
you know, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks for your guidance, because we're gonna start getting together, so that's one of the ones on the list, so,
Yep, yep, yep.
okay.
All right, almost said Casey, Tony,
Yeah.
Casey Junior,
The other brother, Daryl. Convex mirror might help also with the blind spot.
Oh, yeah.
There on Walnut, but we might have to do away with the big reed, put
Mhm.
something smaller like a snowflake.
I'm wondering, can we put up some kind of bigger sign even, maybe that says, I know there's 3 signs there, but just wondering, if we don't change it from what it is, can we somehow make it so absurd that, you know what I mean?
Well, but you're still gonna have, I mean,
Like if they break it, I mean, then they really broke it because it's obvious, if that
cause
makes sense.
you have a couple just different instances, cause you have people that just really don't
I
know,
mean, I'm
they're
just
not,
worried now if there's a blind
Yeah.
spot, like, do we just get absurd with the one way? I don't know, I'm just,
I got arrows that I can paint on the ground pointing, you know, up the street.
yeah.
yeah.
But they also, cause I've seen them where they know it's a one way, they can't go that way, so they cross our sidewalk because there's no barrier. So they technically don't go the wrong way on the street, they just leave the property, but they go over our sidewalk and down our curb.
Yeah. Okay.
Tax strips, I'm just kidding.
So worked on the water plant paperwork and EPA paperwork, it's an ongoing thing, EPA has, I don't know if Casey touched on it, EPA has changed some things, added some things, so we've been working on that. We didn't have any repairs to the water lines this month. Trying to repair a hydrant on Second Street. The tool that we was using, the hydrant was froze up down in the bottom and ended up breaking the tool.
Oops.
Yeah, solid metal broke it. Did get the hydrant part out, got the new parts, got it put together. Just waiting for a day that doesn't rain so we can go stick it back into the hydrant and hopefully have a working hydrant there on Weldon and Second. Started summer hires on projects for the village. There's several summer helps, there's multiple projects they've been working on. Again, with it raining, had one summer help come in over the weekend to try to catch up on the mowing and try to keep it down. Repaired a few signs in the village, serviced some police vehicles to get them on a schedule, continue doing the GIS mapping. I do wanna mention, eventually the generator at the water plant will need replaced. It is kinda old. I do, just like the red dump truck that we got, I keep parts on hand, so when it breaks down, I can keep it going, so that's something that I wanna bring up, is the water generator. And also there's cement blocks deteriorating at the Grange.
Yeah, that's part of that, that $25,000 to repair, and when I say repair, it's a Band-Aid to stretch out their life, but it doesn't fix the problem, so. Because fixing the problem is tearing out everything and redoing it from scratch, which, that's new concrete, new blocks, new everything, which includes the ADA ramp, the entrances, the wells that take you down into the basement, things like that, so.
Larry, was there any questions?
Nope.
All right.
We kinda have the generator on the list that we talked about.
Yeah,
Talk about that.
yeah, I don't have it up there, but I have it on my spreadsheet that I have, because it's past its useful life.
Okay, I thought we
Yeah.
talked about it maybe a couple meetings ago.
Michelle, when I started 6 years ago, it wasn't running.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They had a generator guy come in and said that it was, but I got it to at least fire up, run, serviced it, and adjusted a few things, so it does run, but again, it's an old diesel engine,
right.
so.
Yeah, I feel like a couple meetings ago, we
Yeah.
just, like, we definitely, and Casey definitely said you're keeping it running.
Yeah, I keep parts.
I was
on
just
it.
trying to make sure, I was pretty sure I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have you on a list.
What's that, is that's probably what, mid-90s, late 2000s, or not late 2000s, but early 2000s on the year, and the one here is from 1983. And between the two, this one probably works better than that one. I mean, this one has problems, but.
Yeah, they end up having both almost the same problems, I just haven't had to replace the fuel pumps on that yet.
So, all right. Any old business? I don't have any old business to bring up. All right, we'll move to new business. It's time for speed talk. All right, resolution 411-2401, be it resolved by the Village of Pleasantville Council, the following supplemental appropriations be approved. General fund, $562.50. General fund, $4,066, insurance and bonding. And then be it resolved by the Village Council, the following revenue account be established. Water operating fund, other utilities, $12,760. Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, roll call?
President Dumont,
Yes.
Councilman Mason,
Yes.
Councilman Hayward,
Yes.
Councilman Harrier,
Yes.
Councilman Morton,
Yes.
Councilwoman Henry.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. Ordinance 411-2402, an ordinance establishing and updating zoning fee schedule and the declaration of emergency, waiving the 3 reading rule. This right here is updating all of our zoning permit fees. Nothing has gone up drastically, but you know, our fees of $10, $25 is definitely out of date, not covering some of our costs. The main thing that has changed here is an application fee. We've never had one before, but you know, it does cost money to process an application, so we just done a $10 non-refundable application fee for a zoning permit, and we've also added administrative penalties. I'm gonna say it's a fine if you don't get your permit. It's just another tool to help encourage people to make sure they're getting their permit, because if they don't, it allows us to use that administrative penalty, plus any other law that they break in doing that as well. So, any questions on those fees? I did check around, they're in line with most all smaller villages or under, so. If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Michelle made the motion, second.
I'll second it.
Corey, second. Roll call?
President Dumont,
Yes.
Councilman Mason,
Yes.
Councilman Hayward,
Yes.
Councilman Harrier,
Yes.
Councilman Morton,
Yes.
Councilwoman Henry.
Yes.
All right, motion passed. All right. Also in your packet, just so you guys are aware, you have some sample or draft updated applications to review. These do not require council approval, but the form that we use, it's like a one form fits all. It's a duplicate. We have to order them through North End Press. They cost a lot of money, so we're gonna eliminate those because we're down to like 20 of them, 50 of them, something like that. So we just print them out and change them as we need. But what we did was we took out some of the things that we issue a lot of permits for, and kind of made it very specific, like fencing, swimming pools, things like that, because, you know, trying to fit that on a regular zoning permit, like, some of the data isn't there that we need, or it's asking, like, for a swimming pool permit, it's really asking how big your house is. Do I really care how big your house is if you're asking for a swimming pool permit? No. But that's just how our forms were designed, so this right here kind of, you know, takes that out, gives everything else on there, you know, gives them the application fee, what the, you know, standard information is, setbacks, things like that. And we can adjust as we, you know, change laws or whatever as we go through our zoning. So this is just for reference, there's no action by council on those.
These are nice.
Yeah, we started working on these when Terry was at Baltimore, and then when she left, I kind of threw them on the back burner, but now with revamping everything, plus getting down to, you know, having to order forms, I don't really want to spend thousands of dollars on forms that we can throw them out for pennies, so.
You have to have a PhD to fill out a zoning permit, by the way.
Yeah.
You did before.
Do you think ours is badass? Sam, how a township one is.
I had to go to Sam and have her help me.
Thorn Township is pretty
And
miserable.
I have an education, I know how to read and everything, but.
Yeah, no, Thorn Township's even worse.
Like, what is this?
I've been putting it off for a week.
Next one is,
Quitter.
ordinance 4/11/2403, and that's the, ordinance to establish pay rates for the period of April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025 for the village employees and a declaration of an emergency. As you're aware, every April, we review payroll and do an across-the-board cost of living wage increase. This allows for a 5% cost of living wage across the board for all employees. For part-time and full-time, does exclude seasonal workers such as village pool employees or summer hires. Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
I'll make it and
What?
Michelle's.
Corey made the
I'll make
motion.
it. Michelle
Corey,
seconded
Corey,
it.
show.
Michelle
Okay.
second. Roll call.
President Dumont.
Yes.
Councilman Mason.
Yes.
Councilman Pangborn.
Yes.
Councilman Harrier.
Yes.
Councilman Wharton.
Yes.
Woman Henry.
Yes.
All right. And ordinance 4/11/2404, and an ordinance amending ordinance 12/14/2301, which was the ordinance to establish a police department, authorizing personnel and fixing compensation, and the declaration of emergency, waiving the 3 reading rule. It is changing section 5 of the existing ordinance to basically change 1 part-time code enforcement officer to 1 part-time armed code enforcement officer. So allow our code enforcement officer to carry her weapon. Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Michelle made the
second it.
motion, seconded by Sarah. Roll call.
President Dumont.
Yes.
Councilman Mason.
Yes.
Councilman Pangborn.
Yes.
Councilwoman Harrier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wharton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Henry.
Yes.
All right, motion passed. All right, this isn't very important, but it's something that I do wanna get, out of our way, just because we are updating paperwork and all that. So everyone knows our existing logo, done in the 1980s, hand-drawn by a local artist. Let me grab it here real quick.
Juicy boring.
No.
So there's our current logo, the black and white version of it. But again, it's dated, we've had it for a while. The lady who designed it, you know, she done a great job with it. Has a lot of detail. The problem with the detail is when we go to digitize it, meaning we wanna put it on forms, it's next to impossible to do because the amount of detail that's in it. It's doable, but it costs money, you know, again, the more complex, the more it costs. And we've been doing like a copy and paste, like on all of our forms, which kind of works. But, you know, when we go to do things professionally, that's not always the best case. And then when they go to expand it, it distorts it or shrinks it down. So, so we've been kind of talking about this, you know, over the past couple of years. We've had a couple different things brought forward to us, on on ideas that we really didn't, I don't wanna say didn't like, it just didn't fit what we thought.
I've never seen that with a ribbon around it. In the years I've been here,
Right behind you.
I've never seen it with a ribbon around it though.
It's been hanging out the one.
Like in all the documents, so.
Well,
we
the
have-
document, they just use a centerpiece, but the actual logo is the
Yeah,
whole.
like I said, I've
yeah.
never seen it with it.
So here is the logo proposed. Cleaner lines, easier to digitize, talks about, you know, in the history, the old water tank used to be green, so a lot of people that you talk to that have been around for a while, they're like, oh, that's a town with the old green water tower, so we kind of brought back that green. The larger building is the old university that sat here in Pleasantville, the Fairfield Union Academy, that actually sat on Academy Street where the current park is. And then, of course, the municipal building that's in our old logo, just, you know, cleaner. And then the 9 stars for the 9th Village in Fairfield County. So that's kind of the background behind the logo that we proposed. Again, it's just clean and simple. For reference, you know, I did pull all the other villages that have logos and cities. And this is kind of, you know, they're all over the place. Some people are very simple with just, you know, the first initial of their village, like Thurston and Lancaster. Sugar Grove just went with a simple tree, because that's been their logo for years. It's like a hand-drawn tree like we had, and they just kind of updated it to do some collars. Of course, Village of Bremen's is one of the ones that I love, because there's a lot of history in that one, I know. I hate giving Bremen a shout out here with Tony here, but, like, I really have, I've always loved their logo, because it, just looking at it, you can tell a lot about history, Bremen's history if you've been around. You know, but those are all the different ones that are out there. A lot of people that are updating them are modernizing them, like Canal Winchester, Lithopolis, Carroll, places like that. Fairfield County just updated theirs. But, you know, this right here just kind of give you an idea of what the other logos around the county look like as well. This isn't something that like, oh my gosh, we have to take care of this tonight. It's just things that we've been working on, and we finally got something that we like right now. So I wanted your guys' input.
I think it's good.
What's the one with the green silos?
Which
It's
one?
above Stoutsville?
That one, that's Village Amanda.
Oh,
That, they had a drawing contest at their high school.
I really like it.
Yeah, yeah, but it's very, like, that's another one, like, they can't digitize it, cause it's so detailed and so, it's actually a painting that a high school student done on the side of one of their buildings, and they made that their logo.
The only thing I wish we could do is just add colors somehow to the buildings.
Yeah, well, and, I mean, there's possibilities to add color. I know when I played around with it, the more color, the more busy it got, but
Like the old school, wasn't it brick? Didn't we
it was
make that-
brick, yeah.
Make it red?
Mhm.
Maybe, and I'm trying to think what your office is.
It's like a brown brick.
Is it
It's
brick?
It's like a-
brick?
It's
Or-
like
tan.
brownish.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering
It's
if
like
we
tan.
added that,
It's like tannish.
maybe, I don't know.
All right,
That's the only, I think it looks good though.
okay,
I mean, and you probably don't have to add it, just would be nice.
okay.
I'm just
Red.
trying to compete with Bree.
Red,
It's colorful.
red fire truck right in the middle.
Yeah.
So let me tell you this, like, I designed this, I'm not a graphics person. This is all Microsoft Word using shapes. That is all this is. So,
I think it
but,
should be a lilac tree.
but,
We should have a lilac tree, but then it's gonna get difficult again.
well, but here's the thing. So, lilac collar, fire truck. So like, this right here is just my version of it. We do have people that can like take this and digitize it, but clean it up and like, just take this as an example and maybe put some other stuff in there to where it can be digitized.
Maybe a
Um,
lilac bush into that water tower.
Okay.
I'm really not joking, like I.
No,
like,
no.
But I feel like collar, just,
Yeah.
that's all.
It's definitely missing color.
It's
Okay.
It needs
definitely
more of a
missing
punch.
color,
Okay.
yeah. But other than that, I think it could be basic, just
Mhm.
color.
Good. No, cause, Alyssa kind of is who helped us out the last time,
Okay.
and we kind of didn't really,
Yeah, I actually think it's great, and you
Yeah.
don't even have to really add the lilac bush, honestly. But I just think the buildings, maybe
Okay.
if we could try to put color in.
Yeah.
Other
so
than
we
that,
can
I
send this
think
to
it's
Alice, Alyssa,
Also,
and just say, hey, here's the ideas, and have her send that back, cause, I mean, I think she should be able to do this, cause again, last time it was just like, hey, you tell us what our logo should look like, and I think she came back with railroad tracks and all that, cause that's all that she knows about Pleasantville,
Right,
so.
Right. Yeah, I think this fits for Pleasantville with the buildings and stuff,
Yeah.
it's just,
Okay,
And I really like the 9 stars, that's a
Yeah.
nice touch.
okay, not a problem, we'll do that.
But when I'm looking at Bremen's colorful one,
I-
I know.
Bremen's, I've always been a fan of
That
Bremen's.
mayor's
And
fancy.
and I'm not
Yeah,
saying
that
that because
mayor's
Tony's
fancy.
here, but like, they have always had a great logo,
Fancy.
so, all right. So, next thing is Christway Church, which is a church there on Walnut Street there at the Y by the school. Pastor Ellis reached out to me. They have a need, and I think we can help them out. But again, you know, there's pros and cons with helping them out, and this should be a council decision. So they have a growing youth program at Christway, and they foresee not being able to hold Sunday school in their church because that basement. I went to church there as a kid. You know, you have on one side it's one long room, and on the other side it's 3 different little tiny rooms. You know, when I went to church there, we were probably 15 students that went to Sunday school, and that little bit of space was not even big enough for us back then with all the different things you have in the rooms. So he asked if we would consider allowing them to use the community center for a few hours each Sunday when they do have that need. He also is cognitive, like, hey, we rent that out, so on those days that like we have a rental, that we can earn money, that, you know, they would plan to do something else, you know, or whatever, because again, it's not to put a burden on us, but, you know, what can we do to help? And they are very helpful in the community with different things. You know, Pastor Ellis has, you know, he has the cookout once a year to help, you know, promote the church and a sense of community there. You know, and just some of the committees that he sat on here, so, I mean, he does a great thing down with that church, so, you know, I support him and his mission, so. The pros of this, as I outlined, it gets more people using our community center, so it opens up for more rentals possibly. And then the cons is, you know, it interferes with our Sunday rentals, but there's a couple different ways of doing that, you know, just basically having that a verbal agreement with the church that, you know, as long as we can get something to him within a week time, so that way he has time to change his schedule or whatever, this will be rented, or we don't rent until after
that's
11
what I say
o'clock
we do.
on Sundays.
Whatever
Yeah.
Sunday school is, then I've rented it on a Sunday, and
Yeah.
I don't use it until the afternoon anyway,
Yeah.
most people aren't coming in.
We
the
don't
morning.
typically have Sunday rentals.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
rentals are usually Saturdays.
Yeah, I've rented a couple times on Sunday, and
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I'm not there early.
Yeah, there's not too many
It's
people.
normally an afternoon thing that we're, like, I think I had a baby shower there one year,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
Right.
it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And most churches have Sunday school prior to church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it would work, and even in the case we got someone that was adamant, like, I wanted that church first thing Sunday morning, talking with Jeremy, I think it's gonna be like, hey, you know, we can do this, we can make it work. You know, and he's willing to rent it, you know, but like, what does that cost me? He doesn't need it the whole day, but like, what kind of cost are we talking about? Or what kind of community service can the
I
youth
say
groups do?
community service.
Yeah, and that's kind of
We've
what
got
I
a
was,
nice youth group, they
Yeah.
could probably incorporate it.
I think that, we always need volunteers for the festival.
Yep.
I think that'd be perfect for them.
Okay, so I'll reach back out to him and just say, like, we have a general consensus that this should work. We'll kind of work out the bugs, and basically the fee will be in-kind services throughout the year. And we'll have them put together some projects and then ask for their help at the festival as well.
Could we use them for like community cleanup?
Well, I'm
Yeah, that'd be
assuming
great.
yes, so, because usually churches like that kind of thing and pick up trash and stuff like that, so, yeah.
When people rent the community center, do they rent the whole building, or just the upstairs?
Usually the upstairs or the downstairs.
So
If
they
you-
have to pick, or what?
If you rent the upstairs, you have to rent the downstairs, because the downstairs has the bathrooms, but you can rent just the downstairs.
So we have a different fee schedule if you want just the downstairs, which has the kitchen, bathrooms, and the cafeteria. But if you want the whole building, like the auditorium, then there's an additional fee for it. So like if you're doing a wedding or have a reason for the stage in the auditorium.
I just didn't know if you could split it up, so the church could always have one and you could rent the other, but.
Yeah, well, and that's another idea, like, you know, they can, you know, set up kind of in the auditorium, but it's not a permanent setup either, because we also use that for, aerobics and stuff like that, so it gets used throughout the week, but yeah, that's a good idea, just, they have kind of a designated space, that way if someone is coming in at the bottom, they still have time to clean up at the top or whatever, so,
And they could run across the street to use the bathroom if you had a
Right.
banquet.
yeah,
Or whatever.
so. But if you guys are good with that, I'll reach out to the church and let them know. And again, you know, our mission has always been to get you know, any civic group or anything that's beneficial to the community to use that at no charge. Because it is a community center, people are paying taxes toward it, so, you know, that's, we need to make money to cover the bills, but it's not about making money. All right. I do have another ordinance that's not on your list. You remember a couple months ago, Eric Sandin, from, the right-of-way company came and talked to us, and we approved him to go forward. Well, this is our second step, is passing an ordinance, with the attachment. So this right here is the attachment that goes with the ordinance. This is what needs to go to, Ohio Utilities to start the process after we pass this. So this is what puts them on notice that we're proceeding with this, and that we are gonna start charging these utility companies coming in here, tearing up our streets, tearing up our sidewalks, things like that. So, this right here will be passed. It has to have 3 readings. We'll do the first reading, we'll do the second reading. The third reading has to be tabled until Ohio Utilities come back and approves it. So this could be, then normally we would take care of this within a 3-month period, but because of the way this works, the first reading has to start the process, and they can take up to 6 to 8 months to finish the process. So then that last reading kind of has to hold off until they're done. So tonight would be the first reading for ordinance 411-2405, and it's an ordinance updating the ordinance regulating the use or occupation, I can't talk tonight, I'm getting tired. Occupation of all public right-of-ways in the village of Pleasantville, the issuance of right-of-way permits to persons for such use or occupancy, and to set forth the policies of the village related to public right-of-ways. Again, this is the first reading, there is no vote on it. This is the time that you can ask questions, give input, changes to it, but this is pretty much boilerplate that every village, the language every village passes to get it to Ohio Utilities. Any questions?
What are small cell providers?
Small cell providers?
Last whereas the updated ordinance revises some regulations and adds regulations for small cell providers.
I'd have to look up his definition in the attachment.
Is it in here?
I believe so.
It's on 23.
You said page 23?
Yep.
Oh, it's for wireless.
Yep.
Okay. But I thought it was, I just wanna make sure.
All right. And as we discussed, the only company that would be exempt from this would be Walnut Creek Sewer District, as they are a separate entity. However, they're a government entity, and they're not for profit like other companies are. So I did ask that they be exempt from it, but they are part of our calculation, so we just lose that money, which, you know, if they tear up something, they fix it, so it's not such a big deal. All right. Anything else for new business? Okay, if not, we'll go around the room. We'll start with you, because you're back in the corner. Anything for us? This is just roundtable, anything you want to bring up or ask questions or whatever. All right, well, welcome to the team. Good luck is all I can say. It's not so bad. All right, Sarah?
No.
All right, Court?
All good.
All right, Michelle? Bill? No. Bob? Good. Do you have anything? You have anything? We actually covered everything? Nothing
think
extra
we
for the
got it.
peanut gallery?
I think we got it.
I forgot to have finance sign my mileage thing. Give me just wait till next month.
Oh, they can sign it.
Okay.
All right. If there is no further business, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Bill made the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Sarah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
8:44 PM.
Oh, you're on.